Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel Reality Reads and welcome to our first reality roundup video that we've had in a while. Today we're going to be chatting all about the Traitors and Love is Blind season 10. Let's go ahead and dive in. Let's kick things off with the Traitors. I'm seeing a lot of people online say that they thought this was a really boring episode. I personally enjoyed it. It wasn't as good as the previous two episodes, but I still think it's a pretty good episode overall. I'm just going to hit like a few key points since we now do have more than just the Traitors to talk about. It's been so long. I think the last time was when we had like Survivor, Amazing Race, Dancing with the Stars all on at the same time. We haven't really been too booked and busy when it comes to reality TV, but things are definitely ramping up soon. So, um, kicking things off, we see Dorinda get murdered at the beginning of the episode. This, I think, was a pretty decent decision by Eric and Rob. It's a murder of someone that's not really going to trace back to them. I also don't think that she was ever going to be banished by anyone at the round table. The only kind of theory you could get people maybe to be on board with a little bit, but I think it's a little far-fetched, is that the turret was full of majority housewives. I mean, it was majority housewives, but still, like, more than two, I think would be a hard sell for some people. Let's go ahead and just fast forward, jump to the mission. Now, there was already a lot of suspicion on both Johnny and Tara going into this mission, and I think it was actually a pretty smart move for Rob to decide and tell Eric that, like, let's just answer Tara for everything. It doesn't give them any hints, doesn't give them any clues. And the reason I think that this was a smart decision is because we actually saw in a similar competition last year, this competition was like the downfall of Carolyn last year. You know, no one was suspecting her of anything all season long, and because she was so vocal about certain questions and answers during a similar challenge, it made a lot of people be suspicious of her all of a sudden. I think that utilizing this competition to ensure that you just don't point any fingers at yourself is pretty smart, even though, like, you are going to lose out on some money in the prize pot. I think it's kind of worth it. I think it's a risk worth taking that would have like better payoff in the end. Because who cares if you end up adding plenty of money to the prize pot if suspicion lands on you and then you get booted at the round table? You're not getting that money anyways. There's a lot of people that are thinking, like, how are they not picking up on anything? How are the people that were next to Rob and Eric in the boxes not, picking up on the fact that they could hear their boxes opening and closing right next to them or hear them moving around or whatever? They were playing music. We'll just say that there's confirmation by someone on the cast that there was clown music playing during the whole challenge, and then they just removed it for the show. So they couldn't actually hear any of that going on, and all the extra noises you hear are just added in sound effects. The boxes weren't that noisy. The stairs weren't that creaky. It's just added in for dramatic effect. So people were not going to be able to hear them getting out of their boxes, not going to be able to hear them talk. So they don't even know, was it two guys, a girl and a guy? They have no idea. So really the only thing that challenge gives faithfuls to go off of would be the answers, and that's why I'm saying I think Rob played it smart there. I think that it was interesting to see Eric play it because it really did kind of put him on the spot, and I think that kind of made him a little bit uneasy of like, dang, this is my first job as a trader essentially out in the open, and this is what I have to do. It really kind of like threw him in feet first. And so because of that, I really did like this challenge for this episode. They finish the challenge. We go back to the castle. We hear Tara and Johnny talking about how they're going to reveal that they're best friends. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't know that this is the right decision to make right here, Tara. She was the one that kind of brought it up, at least from what we saw. And I literally wrote in my notes, like, girl, I don't think this is the best time to make this reveal. And I still don't think it was the best time. It didn't have the biggest impact. It wasn't as impactful as I thought it was going to be when she was talking about it. But just overall, you are showing to everyone in the castle that you are capable of keeping a big secret and you are capable of acting a little bit different than what is true to yourself. So like her and Johnny, were not acting like their true best friend selves in the castle in order to hide that. And so you're showing that you're able to mask, basically. And so I think because of that, even though they don't end up being either of the two people that gets voted out at the round table, I don't think we're done hearing their names come up at the round table for sure. I do not see both of them making it to the end of this game. Is there a potential for maybe one of them to make it to the end? Possibly, but I don't think so. After this roundtable that we just had in this episode, I believe there are two more roundtables left, and I would not be surprised if at both of those roundtables it is Johnny and Tara that go out. The only reason that it wouldn't be those two people that go out would be if, because we see at the end of the episode Kristen kind of calling out Eric and being like, your behavior has changed, which I've said in my previous videos. If you've watched them, I have said the only thing faithfuls have to go on is pattern recognition. And there's a lot of people that say that getting chosen to be a traitor in the end game, like getting recruited later, is the best way. And I only think that is true if you are like pathological and don't plan, like have full control over being able to mask, or like you go into the game somewhat playing as a traitor-ish kind of personality, and then you're recruited and you don't like have to change up the way you act at all, then maybe. But like most people just aren't like that. Like if we're being honest, most people you're going to change in some way, even if it's unconsciously, which I think is what happened with Eric. Um, and to you, you may not notice it, but to others who have noticed some kind of specific pattern about you, if that all of a sudden changes, they're going to lock into that. So that's why Candace's throwaway vote was such a big deal. I know a lot of people think that that's like just an excuse, but that's all these people have to go on is pattern recognition. And once you break that pattern, you're screwed. Um, so you had Candace's throwaway vote, and now you have Eric, who wasn't as vocal as he typically used to be. And so that threw up red flags for Kristen. Now, I think it kind of depends on where Rob goes with this. Does he go ahead and let Kristen follow that path, or does he try and talk her off the ledge? I'm good either way. I don't really care if Eric makes it to the end, but I think that that's what decides if both Johnny and Tara make it to Final Fire. I think that there's a good chance that whichever out of Johnny and Tara, if they do make it to Final Fire, that they don't throw green with them being at the fire. And the reason I say that is because most of these people genuinely have a really strong feeling that one of the two of Johnny and Tara is a traitor. They may not be 100% sure on which one they think it is, but they are pretty convinced that it's one of the two of them. And so whichever one they vote out first, if we're to the point where they reveal if they're a faithful or a traitor or not, and they're revealed as a faithful, because that's what they are currently, then they're going to go after the other person. So because of that, I have very low percentage odds of Johnny and Tara both winning this game. Okay, now moving to like the roundtable discussion with Steven being under fire. I honestly didn't really think that Johnny's defense was all that great. I honestly think that Eric and Rob, probably Rob, knew kind of what I was just explaining about, like they had, including the round table they were currently sitting at, 3 round tables to get through. There's tons of suspicion on Johnny and Tara. That theory is not going to go away. We have enough suspicion on Steven right now. Like, why not go ahead and get this number out? And that saves us Johnny and Tara for the next 2 if no other theories come up. It's also why I think that it was smart for them to not put themselves in any of the boxes for the short list. Because, again, in that same kind of line of thinking, if people do, for whatever crazy reason, decide to move off of Johnny and Tara and you need to throw out another theory, there is that shortlist theory, which brings them back to Johnny and Tara. But it just gives you all of these different options and avenues to kind of go down and send the faithfuls down for theories that they should follow and flush out for these next two roundtables that do not point to you in any way. And that's why I think that that was like a really good decision. But in general, I really just didn't think that Johnny's defense was all that great. I think that it's just that Rob and Eric kind of jumped on to that opportunity. A lot of Steven's exit interviews, he has talked about how he really wishes that him and Johnny would have connected more, because that whole conversation there, you know, later on, Rob comes in and asks for time alone with Candace. And he just thinks that if him and Johnny had kind of cross-referenced some notes a little bit, that they may have been able to figure the Rob situation out, but they didn't. They didn't talk game that much. So that's unfortunate. So Steven goes. Going forward into next week's episode, I am just excited to see which path and which avenue Rob decides to go down, because like I said, I think that there are many options that he has available to him about where and how to end off this game. And I don't see how Rob doesn't walk away with all the money. So I'm really excited. In my dream world, at Final Fire, we have Rob, Maura, Mark, Kristen, and Tara. They all agree for sure to get rid of Tara. And then I think they all throw green. And then Rob reveals he is, in fact, a traitor. And I would be so excited to see not only Kristen's reaction, but also Maura's reaction to that. And there's, you know, I think I talked about this in last week's episode. I'm not sure. I know I've made short form content about it, but this conversation about like who's better between Rob and Cirie. I don't think that's really a conversation we can have until we genuinely see how the season ends. I mean, I think as a community, we are all in agreement that like Rob is winning this, so it will be extremely shocking if he doesn't, but until we see it, we don't know that to be fact. Um, but what I will say is, if for some reason Maura is not at the end, and even if she is, there's potential for the reveal to not be as good as season one was. I mean, those people still hate Cirie today. Andy and Quentin. They hate her. Still to this day, they hate her. I just don't know. I don't know that the reveal will ever be that good again. And I mean, you literally like saw like life draining out of Andy's eyes when Cirie revealed that she was a traitor. I don't know. Like, there will be shock for these people when Rob reveals it, but will it be as like dramatic? I don't know. I don't know that it will. The reason I say that is because I feel like Maura would kind of just like laugh it off and be like, "Oh my god, you asshole. I can't believe you like did this, blah blah blah." But like, she's not going to be hurt and mad. Kristen, potentially. Mark, I feel like he's going to be more of like a I knew it. Like, I knew it, but I was denying it kind of thing. I'm excited for the season to wrap up. I'm kind of dreading the reunion, if I'm going to be honest. I feel like there are really no conversations that I'm interested in seeing them rehash. I don't want it to be like a season one reunion where they just bash Rob and claim that he's a terrible person because he was a traitor playing the traitors and made traitorous decisions, as he should. I don't want this to be anything about Colton and Michael Rappaport. So, like, that's what I'm saying, is like there's just nothing that I feel like, I don't know, for this season, I feel like I'm good with what I've seen. They're going to be focused on things that I genuinely don't care to hear anymore about because it's going to annoy me. So I don't know. We'll see. We've got one more normal episode, and then we will have our 2-part episode with both the finale and the reunion. They filmed the reunion on Thursday night. There's a couple little things coming out about it that kind of also are just reconfirming what I just said. Reasons that I don't know that I'm going to watch it, but I'm not that excited to watch it really. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for Traitors this week. Let me know what you think about the Traitors in the comments, and let's move on to Love is Blind. Okay, so my Love is Blind coverage is going to be slightly different than how my typical reality TV show coverage is, because normally I will give my thoughts and opinions on like every single episode of a drop, or if it's episode by episode like the Traitors is currently, I would give my thoughts on every episode. They dropped 6 episodes. I'm not doing that with this. So I'm really just going to kind of give like quick thoughts and opinions on all of the couples that made it out of the pods. And we'll kind of just adapt to what kind of content is in the episode drops. And I'll just kind of share my thoughts and opinions on those. But if there's anything that like I don't touch on that you have questions on, as always, let me know in the comments. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on these couples as well. Now, when the cast was first revealed, like me and Love is Blind definitely have a love-hate relationship. I did not even watch last season, but I decided to give this season a try, and I said I was only going to watch until the people that I chose out of the cast, the women, because I don't care about these men, um, the women that I chose were like no longer on it, like if they don't last. Can confirm that literally there is only one, but I will say there is someone that I've really started to like throughout the pod journey, and so I've added her to my list. But my other women that I really liked when the cast was dropped, it was Tyler and Priyanka. We didn't even see Priyanka. I'm so annoyed by that. And then I put Ashley on my list, not necessarily because I liked her and liked her vibe, but like I have a similar job title. So I was like, oh, that's fun. I never see that job title listed anywhere. So like we'll give it a go here. But I really like Brittany. So I'm adding her to my watch list. So if Brittany and Ashley both make early exits, my coverage for Love is Blind more than likely will end because I don't really care to watch any of these other couples. Okay, so Vic and Christine, let's start with them. Here's my opinion on this whole Vic and Christine situation. If you don't know, Vic and Christine were like a really strong couple in the pods. They were the first ones to get engaged. And this year, there's actually a lot of couples that got engaged, and typically they will just pick 6 people, and that is the end of it. Like, we will only follow those 6 people. For this season, they decided that they still wanted to have Vic and Christine part of the show in some way, but they just didn't see them being all that dramatic. And because of that, they did not have them go to Mexico in Cabo with all the other couples. They went somewhere in California and they just like self filmed a few little snippets that we see here and there. In my personal opinion, I think because there has been such a low success rate of couples actually making it to the altar over the last several seasons, I feel like at the end of the pod, they felt like this was their strongest couple that has the strongest chance at that time of making it to the altar. And so they're like, let's kind of keep them here in the background somewhere in case we need to start focusing on them more, just so we have a couple that makes it to the altar and potentially says yes, rather than like just throwing them to the wayside, because like a lot of these other couples probably aren't going to make it, but they're a lot more dramatic and we want that here in the beginning on the vacation. So I know they said it was like budget reasons and different things like that, and I do know that's why they typically only choose 6 couples. However, I think that that's the reason that they decided to at least kind of keep them along for the ride for a little bit, is in case they needed them. Okay, so I do really like both of them, Vic and Christine both. I know we see kind of in the preview, it looks like things aren't going to be so rainbows and butterflies the whole time, which I'm not mad about, but I am hoping that they're able to kind of overcome that and stick it out together. They both seem really genuine, seem like they came here for the right reasons, and they did seem like a good match in my opinion. Moving on to Amber and Jordan. So Amber is a single mom. Um it did seem like in the pods that she has a really good co-parenting relationship with her daughter's father, so like that's really cool. I think that Jordan seemed like a really good guy. I do think that both of these people also came here for the right reasons. I do think that when we saw them do the reveal after they were engaged, I do not think that Amber is physically attracted to Jordan. However, I don't think she was completely like icked out and grossed out by him. And so she decided to go ahead and like sometimes the physical attraction can grow a little bit. And so she wanted to just kind of see how things progress. Now, from the preview, what I'm afraid of is that it looks like that doesn't really progress for her. She doesn't become attracted to him. That becomes a problem for her. And rather than just saying that, it looks like maybe she's going to end up just like causing an issue instead of just communicating how she's genuinely feeling with him and letting him know and ending the relationship. So I don't love that. Bree and Connor, Breezy be driving me nuts. I'm gonna be honest. Girl, she doesn't like Connor, and honestly, I don't blame her because I couldn't stand him either. I think it was mostly whenever he was like talking with Emma, where I know it was definitely when they were still in the pods that I was like, I hate Connor. Get him off of my screen. Please don't let him match with anyone at all. And then he ends up matching with Bree, and I don't think Bree likes him all that much. And I think that's why she continuously was talking about like, oh, why are my past connections not acting like we had a connection when I met them in person? Like, I wanted to still get to know them. Girl, that's not what this experiment is. I think you wanted to go on the ultimatum where you get to test things out with other people. That's not what Love is Blind is. You are on the wrong show, man. I think that's where you got yourself confused. So I have very low expectations for these two lasting much longer at all. Moving on to Emma and Mike. I think Emma needed to do a lot of healing and therapy before she came on the show. I feel like she's getting a lot of hate online, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think that she was just trying to be really communicative about a lot of things in her past and why she is the way that she is, but I also think that she hasn't healed from all of those things. And yeah, also this guy is giving psycho vibes with his obsession with her being disorganized, and the disorganization doesn't even seem that bad. Like we've heard and seen way worse on this show before. Her suitcase not being as organized as you think it should be, and or you tripping over her shoes one singular time is not something that you should literally be hyper focused on for the next 5 to 7 business days. Like, move on. And also, if that's the only thing that you have to complain about, that's an easily fixable issue. And maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad. I don't know. I don't see this. Did I say Emma and Chris? I meant Emma and Mike. Um, I don't see this relationship lasting all that long at all, if I'm being honest. Especially if the organization thing is going to be a problem for him when they get to the apartments, if things are not exactly the way that he wants them to be, I feel like he's just gonna dip, honestly. Like that's the vibe that I'm getting from him. Okay, then we have Jessica and Chris. These two seem disingenuous to me, but not in like a clout way. Just like I feel like they're trying to force themselves to have fun to like when they're having their giggly laughy moments, it just seems fake to me. And I don't know why. I don't really have like any standout moments where they like got on my nerves. Like, whenever you just don't care for someone, don't like someone, and so everything they do like pisses you off and gets on your nerves. It's not this with them because like I didn't have that opinion of either of them. But for some reason, just them together and their interactions together just don't seem real to me. They don't seem genuine. It just seems forced. I don't know if that means like if they want to keep fake it till you make it kind of thing. Sometimes that can happen and it doesn't really. I mean, they're going to say no at the altar, but they at least make it to the altar. I don't know if that's going to be like their vibe or what, but I'm like just iffy on them, but also at the same time don't really care what happens with them either. I'm just not that invested in them, I guess is maybe the best way to say it. Brittany and Devonte. Devonte is trash. I'm so sorry, but he is such trash. It is very glaringly obvious that he is not attracted to Brittany because she is not white. That is 100% what the problem in this relationship is. You cannot convince me otherwise. And that's a terrible, terrible thing. So, are they going to last? Absolutely not. And Brittany is freaking gorgeous. And I think she has a really fun personality. She is someone that I'm pretty sure I said that she got added to my list once the show started of like people that I really like. I think she has a really warm and bubbly personality and she's really fun. And so I hope she escapes Devontae ASAP and can maybe link up with someone else. But that brings us to Ashley and Alex because Alex did basically like have a conversation with her and say that he is way more attracted to her than he is to Ashley, his current match, which is crazy because that means that my two girls that I like are Ashley and Brittany, or not necessarily that I like because I don't really know that I like Ashley if I'm being honest, but the two people that I'm like following their journey on. In order for both of them to stay, one of them, well, in order for one of them to end up happy, one of them has to go. So, we'll see how this all plays out. But I mean, Alex pretty much said that he is more attracted to Brittany than Ashley. He let Brittany know that. I don't know. Alex also gives me major fake vibes, but like, is it just because he's with Ashley and trying to fake it till he makes it? Or is that his whole personality? He's giving like car salesman. And we do see in the preview that like I'm assuming dad calls him out on basically being that way, and I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to see that because yes, I agree with you 100%, sir. Ashley and Alex, I don't see them lasting, but I also don't know that I see like Brittany and Alex linking up and making it work either. We'll have to wait and see, but those are my overall thoughts right now on all the couples on Love is Blind, where they're at now, if I think they're going to make it to the end. We started with a lot of couples exiting the pods and going on to like the little honeymoon phase of the journey. I don't think we'll see that many actually make it to the altar. I really don't. But who knows? Excited to watch the drop next week. Um, Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you agree with my thoughts on all of these couples? Do you have a different couple or girl that you're rooting for that maybe I need to have an eye on? Let me know. And I will be back with more reality roundup next week. I think next week will again be just the Traitors and just Love is Blind. And then the following week, girl, we are booked and busy that next week. You guys better buckle up. That one's going to be a long one. We're going to have so much to talk about that week. The reality TV stuff is really going to be ramping up at the end of February, so buckle in.